I still remember the first time I saw him. He had that charming, polished look, the kind that makes you lower your guard before you even realize it. His smile didn't just light up a room, it made you feel like you were the center of the universe. I wasn't looking for anything serious back then. A friend had introduced us casually, saying he was rebuilding his life after a bad breakup. I didn't dig deeper, I didn't know I needed to. At first, he was perfect. I mean, textbook perfect. Attentive, warm, spiritual. We'd have long conversations about God, forgiveness, and finding peace in the chaos. He told me he had made mistakes in the past, but he was working on being better. That should have been my first red flag. But instead of backing off, I leaned in. I thought it was brave, admirable even, to admit your flaws and fight to be better. He told me he wanted to take things slow. He respected my boundaries. He never pressured me into anything. I thought finally, a man who listens. A man with integrity. I didn't know I was being love-bombed. I didn't know I was just one of many. It wasn't until a few months in that something started to feel off. He'd disappear for a day or two, no texts, no calls. Then suddenly he'd come back, full of excuses, sick aunt, phone problems, work emergency. Each excuse was plausible enough to silence the quiet scream inside my gut. I ignored it, because he prayed with me. He knew scripture. He said he loved me. It all unraveled on a Tuesday. I got a message from an unknown number. "You don't know me, but I'm his fiancé. I think we need to talk." My heart stopped. For a second, I thought it was a prank. But I called her. Her voice was calm, too calm, like someone who had cried herself into silence. She told me she found messages, pictures, even screenshots from dating apps. Not just with me. Dozens of other women. Some he had been sleeping with while planning their wedding. Some while she was pregnant before. A pregnancy that ended in miscarriage, she told me, tears returning to her voice. I couldn't speak. My world tilted on its axis. Every memory of him, every walk, every dinner, every prayer felt poisoned. I thought I was special. I thought he saw me. I didn't realize I was just another stop in his cycle of destruction. But the part that really broke me, the part that haunts me still, is what happened next. She married him anyway. When she told me she still planned to marry him, I thought I was hearing things. "You, what?" I whispered into the phone. Her voice didn't waver. "He told me he's changed. That we're meant to be. He says you're just a bitter ex trying to sabotage us." A bitter ex. That's what I was reduced to. I spent the next few days in a kind of daze, not quite awake, not quite dreaming. I kept replaying it all in my head. His eyes when he looked at me. The way he'd hold my hand and say, "God sent you to me." The prayers. The long talks about building a family. The future plans. The way he talked about marriage is sacred. It was all a script. Rehearsed. Delivered with the precision of a man who knew exactly how to sound sincere. And the worst part? I wasn't even the only other woman. After talking to his fiancée, I started digging. I went back through old texts, messages on Instagram, even some old email threads. I found patterns, phrases he reused, compliments he recycled. He called me his answered prayer. And apparently, he told another woman she was his sign from God. We were all chosen, unique, the one. I wasn't just heartbroken, I was humiliated. And furious. But not just with him. I was angry with myself. For believing him. For missing the signs. For thinking I was somehow different. My friends tried to help. They told me to block him, to forget him, to move on. But they didn't understand how deep he had gotten into my head. Into my heart. I would cry during worship songs. I couldn't pray without hearing his voice in my head. He had used my faith as a tool. He didn't just cheat on me, he desecrated everything I believed in. One night, maybe a week later, I caved and messaged him. Just 6 words. "Did you ever love me, truly?" His reply came within minutes. "Of course I did. You were amazing. But God had other plans." That line, God had other plans. It wasn't just manipulative, it was cruel. It was a way of dodging responsibility and making it seem like all this pain was somehow divine will. As if betrayal could be blessed. As if my tears were part of some holy strategy. I wanted to scream. I wanted to go to his wedding and shout the truth. I even thought about calling her again, sending her screenshots, making sure she couldn't walk down that aisle in ignorance. But I didn't. Because deep down, I knew she already knew. And like me, she had chosen to believe the lie. I didn't expect what happened next. After weeks of silence. No calls, no updates, no mentions of him from mutual friends, I thought maybe I was finally starting to heal. But healing doesn't come when the wound keeps reopening itself. It started with a DM on Instagram from a girl I'd never seen before. Her message was simple. "Hi. I think we've both been with the same man." My heart dropped. I clicked on her profile and there he was, in her photos, with his arms wrapped around her, kissing her forehead, holding her hand. He looked happy, relaxed, like a man in love. I almost vomited. She said she found my profile through a comment I left under a Christian podcast. Apparently, he had quoted something I said in our Bible group and passed it off as his own. She recognized it, Googled part of it, and ended up on my page. She said he told her I was obsessed, unstable, and refused to let go. He was still using me. Even in my absence, he was reshaping my story to fit his narrative. But what shocked me most was her story. She wasn't just dating him. She thought she was engaged to him. At the exact same time, he was supposedly engaged to the first woman, the one who had called me weeks earlier. That made 3 of us. At least. We started digging together, messaging more women who had interacted with him online. And suddenly, it was like the floodgates opened. One woman said he had met her at a church leadership retreat and told her they were spiritually aligned, just like he told me. Another showed me screenshots of the same Bible verses he had sent me. One woman told me he had promised to help her raise her son. Another said he had prayed with her the night before she had surgery and then ghosted her the next day. He was running an emotional Ponzi scheme, borrowing trust from one woman to impress the next. And the currency was always the same: God, vulnerability, and pain. He didn't just cheat with bodies, he cheated with souls. I felt sick, but also strangely relieved. Because finally, I knew I wasn't crazy. I wasn't the only one who felt broken, manipulated, discarded. We had all seen the same man, just wearing different masks. We formed a secret group chat, a digital sisterhood of survivors. We called it the Chosen Ones, sarcastically, of course. Each of us had been told we were chosen. Each of us had believed it. One night, we joked about writing a book, or exposing him, or crashing one of his speaking events and standing up in the crowd, each one of us reading the same lines he fed us like gospel. But we didn't. We were too tired, too hurt, too ashamed. And honestly, we weren't sure anyone would believe us. Because he was charming. He looked the part. He wore his faith like armor. And when men like that lie, the world listens to them, not to us. I stopped going to church for a while. Every time I walked through those doors, my chest would tighten. The songs, the prayers, even the smell of the sanctuary, it all reminded me of him. He had infected my faith like a virus. And every sermon about forgiveness felt like a slap in the face. People noticed I was quieter. Friends asked if I was okay. I smiled and nodded. Just tired. That was the line I used, just tired. But the truth was, I wasn't sleeping. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, smiling, sincere, full of lies. There were nights I'd scroll through our old texts, looking for signs I missed. I'd zoom in on photos, like I could find the deception in his eyes if I looked hard enough. I'd replay our phone calls in my mind, word by word, trying to spot the moment he stopped meaning what he said. But that's the thing with manipulators, they don't just lie to you. They teach you to lie to yourself. I kept asking, was I really that naive? Was I desperate? Or just easy to fool? And slowly, that voice inside me, the one that used to tell me I was strong, smart, worthy, got quieter. Like it didn't believe in me anymore either. I stopped trusting people. I started overanalyzing every conversation. Every compliment felt suspicious. Every kind gesture felt like bait. Even when a man held a door open for me, I'd catch myself thinking, what's your angle? What do you want? And worst of all, I started doubting God. I don't say that lightly, but how could I not? I had prayed for discernment. I had asked for signs. I had begged for clarity. And what did I get? A man who used God's name to destroy me. There was one night, I remember it vividly, I was sitting in the shower, fully clothed, water pouring over me like a baptism I didn't believe in anymore. I whispered into the steam, God, where were you? No answer. Just the drip of water and the echo of my own breath. The next morning, I got a message from one of the women in our group chat. She said, I just want you to know it wasn't your fault. He fooled all of us. That means there's nothing wrong with you. There's something wrong with him. I cried. Not because I believed her, but because part of me, the part one thought had died, wanted to. Healing is never a straight line. It's not some beautiful upward curve like people make it seem. It's messy, jagged, and full of steps backward. And just when you think you're okay, when you've gone a few days without crying, when a song doesn't trigger you, when you can finally say his name without your voice breaking, life finds a way to remind you that your wounds are still open. It had been months. I had blocked him everywhere. I was going to therapy. I'd even started going back to church, not the same one, a smaller place across town. Quiet. Safe. I was rebuilding piece by piece. And then it happened. I was at a friend's baby shower. I almost didn't go. I was having one of those nothing fits, nothing looks good, everything hurts kind of days. But she was one of my few friends who had stayed by my side through everything. I owed her that much. The party was nice. Light music, cake, pastel decorations. I was standing by the punch table when I heard someone say his name. I froze. At first, I thought I was imagining it. But then I heard it again. Laughter. And then his voice. His actual voice. In the same room. I turned around and there he was. Standing just a few feet away. Smiling. Talking. Holding hands with a woman who looked exactly like the type he always went for, soft, trusting, hopeful. He didn't see me at first. But then our eyes met. And for a split second, time stopped. He blinked. Smiled faintly. And nodded. Like we were old friends. Like he hadn't torn me in half. I could feel my heart pounding in my throat. My hands were shaking. My legs wanted to move, but I was frozen. Not with fear, but with fury. With disgust. With something I hadn't felt in months, clarity. Because in that moment I realized something. He wasn't powerful. He wasn't mysterious. He wasn't divine or fated or special. He was small. Just a man. A broken, manipulative, insecure man who needed women to worship him so he could avoid hating himself. And me? I wasn't a victim anymore. I wasn't a discarded chapter in his book. I was the woman who finally saw the whole picture. He walked over eventually. Alone. She must have gone to the restroom or something. He smiled like this was casual. Hey, you look good. I've been praying for you. That line, I've been praying for you. He said it like it was some holy olive branch. Like it made up for everything. I took a breath. Looked him dead in the eye. And for the first time, I didn't flinch. I don't need your prayers, I said quietly. I need you to stop pretending you're a good man. He looked taken aback just for a second and then smiled that same manipulative, polished smile I used to fall for. You're still angry, he said. But I forgive you. That's when I laughed. A real, sharp, guttural laugh that turned heads. You forgive me? I said. You don't get to forgive me. You don't hold that kind of power anymore. I walked away before he could respond. My hands were still shaking, but my heart felt lighter. That was the moment I realized healing isn't about pretending the pain never happened. It's about looking it in the eye and saying, you don't control me anymore. After that encounter, something inside me shifted. I no longer felt like I had to stay silent. I had spent months protecting his image, afraid of seeming dramatic or bitter or the crazy ex. I was done with that. I was done letting shame keep me small. So I told my story. It started with a blog post. Just for myself, really. I didn't use his name. I didn't need to. The words poured out of me like they'd been waiting, clawing to be heard. I wrote about the love bombing, the spiritual manipulation, the multiple women, the silence, the gaslighting, the trauma, and I ended it with this. If you've been lied to in God's name, if your faith has been weaponized against you, if your heart has been used as a stepping stone, you are not weak. You are not foolish. You are not alone. I didn't expect it to go viral, but it did. Within days, dozens of women messaged me. Some were strangers. Some I'd met in passing. Some were still with him. Some were afraid. One message hit me like a punch to the gut. I'm still with him. I think I'm engaged to him. But everything you wrote, I felt it too. I didn't want to admit it. Thank you. And then another. He told me you were mentally unstable. He made me block you. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. My inbox became a memorial of shattered trust. So many women, all with the same story, different timelines, different details, but the same script. The same man. But not everyone was supportive. Some women attacked me. He's changed now. You're just bitter. You're trying to ruin a man's ministry. This is slander. It hurt. I won't pretend it didn't. But I understood it. They were still in it, still in his grip, still hoping their version of him was real. Just like I once did. And honestly, I didn't blame them. Because healing from someone like him doesn't begin with facts. It begins with heartbreak. And sometimes people would rather stay in denial than face that kind of pain. But the more I spoke, the more the shame unraveled. I did a podcast interview. Then another. I joined a survivor-led panel on religious abuse. Women from all over reached out. Some had never spoken about their pain before. Others were only just realizing they had been manipulated. And slowly, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long, long time. Purpose. Not revenge. Not spite, but clarity. The clarity of turning pain into power. There was a cost, of course. I lost friends. Some churches distanced themselves from me. A few people told me I was hurting the kingdom by speaking up, but I didn't care anymore. I'd rather be exiled with truth than celebrated in silence. One day, I received an anonymous tip, a screenshot. It was from his social media, a long post about false accusations and spiritual warfare. I smiled, because when people stop believing your lies, the only card left is playing the victim. The hardest part wasn't what he did to me. It was what I did to myself after. The way I questioned my worth. The way I replayed our conversations over and over, trying to find the moment I let it happen. The way I erased my own intuition just to believe in his mask. That's what abuse does. It doesn't just break your heart. It breaks your mirror until all you can see is the version of yourself he created. But slowly, piece by piece, I started seeing the real me again. I found strength in places I didn't know existed. In women who held me up when I couldn't stand. In strangers who told me my story helped them leave. In the quiet moments, journaling, praying, sitting in silence. When I finally felt peace without pain attached to it. One day, I sat on the edge of my bed and whispered something I never thought I'd say. I forgive you, not because he deserved it. He didn't. Not because he apologized. He never did. But because I deserved freedom. And forgiveness is a door I had to walk through to leave that prison behind. Forgiveness, I've learned, is not reconciliation. It's not forgetting. It's not saying, it's okay. It's saying, I refuse to let this pain define me anymore. I no longer flinch when I hear his name. I no longer shrink at the thought of love. I don't need to expose him further, or prove my side of the story, or win. I already did, because I'm still here, and I've rebuilt myself, not into the person I was before him, but into someone wiser, stronger, softer in the right places, harder in others. To the women who messaged me, to those still stuck, still scared, still hoping he'll change, I want you to hear this. You are not stupid. You are not broken. You are not alone. You are human. And being human means sometimes we fall for things that look like love, but we're only hunger in disguise. But you don't have to stay there. You don't have to keep bleeding to prove you were wounded. You get to walk away. And you don't need anyone's permission to heal.